Because Concerto is a really good episode of Arthur. This is the first segment of the 7th episode of the 19th season. And in this one, George has agreed to put on a puppet show for TW and Bud's class for an annual event that they have. And he decides to do a telling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And he enlists the help of Binky, Rattles, and Buster to do the puppets of the Three Bears, and Wally is Goldilocks. And honestly, I wish we got to see more of the bears doing their thing, particularly because when Buster did a roar as a baby bear, it was one of the most adorable things ever. His little facial expression was so cute. And it's really nice to see Rattles in a more positive role as well. Certainly the tough customers over the last few seasons have been less tough customer and more trying to change their ways. And we see Rattles doing a really good thing here, and I wish we got to see more of that. But the main focus is on Carl. It turns out that Carl can play the accordion, and George asks if he wants to perform the music for the show, and Carl agrees. But George is worried because during rehearsal, because Carl has autism and he has to stick to specific times, he keeps stopping the rehearsal for lunch, and his accordion doesn't sound perfect, so he has to go and change a reed rather than just, persevering for the sake of the rehearsal and changing it later. And George is really worried that Carl will, mess up on the day. And it's all about persevering, learning to kind of work around Carl's own needs, and trusting that things might turn out okay. I won't say exactly what happens, but I think there is a strong message there that if you have a friend who has autism or any other kind of condition where they may seem like they're being difficult, or they may seem like their needs are getting in the way of things, just be patient and understanding. And generally George is. We've seen in previous episodes George is actually really good friends with Carl, and he's kind of used to Carl's needs. But obviously George is terrified about this performance and really needs it to go well. He starts panicking that he'll no longer be allowed to have a puppet and things, and his imagination kind of runs away with him with how badly things could go, and he's kind of putting all of that blame on Carl. Not that he's telling Carl this, but to him, if anything goes wrong, it's because of Carl, and he has some things to learn and some emotions to work through. Meanwhile, Carl's just getting on with it in the way that Carl knows how. And I think it's definitely an important message about how to deal with a situation if you're in a similar situation to George. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Definitely, Carl as a character, I think he's very likable. I think it's a really good display of a child with autism. And whenever we see Carl, I always like him as a character. And this episode is absolutely no different. I could understand George's apprehension, but also at the same time, I could understand Carl's perspective as well, and to some degree. So I think it's a decent narrative. I wish we got to see more of the Three Bears because they were pretty adorable. Rather enjoyed the briefs that we got of Rattles and Buster. They were on screen quite a bit, just not as speaking characters that much. But definitely a pretty decent episode.